Listen up, here's a truth that'll shake you: the richest guy in the room can still lose everything chasing love. Imagine a man with cash to burn, betting his pride to win a woman's heart. Sounds like a slam dunk, right? Wrong. Life doesn't care about your bank account when it's time to teach you a lesson, and oh boy, does this story deliver. You felt it too, that ache when you think you've got it all figured out, only to watch it slip away. What if I told you losing could be the win you never saw coming? Stick with me, and in just a few minutes, you'll see how a reckless dare turned into a roller coaster of shock, heartbreak, and a twist so wild it'll redefine what you think love's worth. Ready to dive in? You won't believe where this ends up. Picture this: a dimly lit bar, laughter echoing, and a group of friends tossing around wild ideas. That's where it all kicked off, a shock to the system no one expected. One guy, oozing confidence, threw out a challenge so reckless it'd make your jaw drop: win a woman's heart or kiss his pride goodbye. It wasn't just a game, it was the billionaire's bet, a love gamble that'd turn his world upside down. Xavier Holden, the man with everything, money, charm, and a smirk, took the bait. What happens next? Oh, you won't believe how this twist of fate began. Now, let's be real, most folks would have laughed it off, but not him. He saw it as a lesson in power, a chance to prove he could conquer anything, even love. The dare wasn't just about winning, it was he played, but lost his heart waiting to happen. His buddies egged him on, tossing back drinks and bets, while Xavier leaned back, already plotting. This wasn't your average night out, it was the spark of an unexpected romance, a game turned real. Pride was on the line, and he wasn't about to back down. Here's the kicker: life's got a funny way of flipping the script. He thought this'd be a breeze, a quick win to brag about over cigars. But fate's unexpected twist had other plans, lurking just around the corner. Imagine betting your ego on something as wild as love. Sounds like a bet gone wrong, right? Xavier didn't see it yet, but this wasn't about control, it was about secrets and heartbreak ready to unravel. The room buzzed with energy, but something deeper was brewing. Think about the last time you took a risk, maybe not a billionaire-sized one, but a leap nonetheless. That rush, that thrill. That's where he was, teetering on the edge of love versus pride. He didn't know Josephine Winslow was about to walk into his orbit, a name that'd soon haunt his every move. The dare felt like a lark, a passionate deception he could master. But when the hunter becomes the prey, things get messy. This wasn't just a dare, it was the start of something he couldn't undo. And oh boy, the stakes couldn't get higher. He'd strutted through life, winning at everything: business deals, poker nights, you name it. But this? This was falling for the wrong girl territory, an unplanned love story he didn't sign up for. The crowd around him faded as he locked onto the idea, a smirk tugging at his lips. It was bold, reckless, and downright irresistible. A rich man's regret was the last thing on his mind, until it wasn't. Ever tried turning a silly bet into a life lesson? Maybe you've wagered a coffee on a trivia answer: small stuff, sure, but it's the same vibe. Xavier's version was next level, a full-on twist of fate begging to teach him something. He didn't just want to win, he needed to. The dare was his fuel, his fire, and he was all in, too all in, if you ask me. What happens when the game stops being a game? That's where the real shock kicks in. So there he was, caught up in the moment, no clue how this would spiral. The night stretched on, drinks clinked, and the dare settled into his bones like a promise, or a curse. An unplanned love story was about to unfold, and he was the star, whether he liked it or not. Josephine Winslow wasn't even in the picture yet, but the stage was set. Who'd she be? What did she bring to this wild ride? You'll see, it's all about picking the perfect target next. So, the dare was on, and Xavier Holden was ready to roll, cocky grin and all. But here's the shock: he didn't go for the usual suspects, the glitzy types who'd swoon at his billionaire's bet. Nope, he spotted Josephine Winslow across the room, and you won't believe this, she was different, a total twist of fate. She wasn't dripping in diamonds or chasing his status, she had this quiet vibe that screamed unexpected romance. Picking her wasn't just a move, it was the start of a love gamble he didn't see coming. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson he'd never forget. See, Xavier was used to women who played the game, high heels, higher expectations. Josephine, though. She was sipping coffee, flipping through a book, oblivious to his world. No one expected her to catch his eye, but that's where falling for the wrong girl kicked in. He thought, easy target, right? A game turned real, I can win. Wrong. She wasn't impressed by his cash or charm, and that threw him off. This was love versus pride, and he was already on shaky ground. Let's paint the scene, he swaggered over, all smooth moves and practiced lines. But her raised eyebrow? Pure passionate deception, except she wasn't buying it. Most would have melted under his gaze, but Josephine gave him a look that said, prove it. It was a bet gone wrong from the jump, and he didn't even know it. The bar hummed around them, but this was when the hunter becomes the prey in disguise. He'd picked her, sure, but had he really chosen wisely? Think about it, ever gone after something thinking it'd be a breeze, only to get humbled? Maybe you aimed to ace a test or impress a friend, but life laughed instead. That's Xavier right now, diving into secrets and heartbreak without a clue. Josephine wasn't like his usual crowd, she didn't care about his penthouse or private jet. She was real, grounded, and it rattled him. A rich man's regret was brewing, and he was too busy plotting to notice. Here's where it gets juicy, he figured he'd charm her quick, seal the deal, and strut back victorious. But she wasn't just different, she was a puzzle, an unplanned love story he couldn't crack. Picture him leaning in, tossing out a line about fate, while she just smirked and sipped her drink. He played, but lost. His heart was whispering in the air, and he didn't hear it. This wasn't about picking a target, it was about picking a fight with his own ego. Ever met someone who flips your whole game plan upside down? That's what Josephine did without even trying. She wasn't loud or flashy, just real in a way that made Xavier second-guess himself. The dare felt simple, win her over, walk away. But this? This was fate's unexpected twist pulling the strings. He didn't know her story yet, but he'd pegged her as the one. Trouble was, she wasn't playing by his rules, or anyone's. So there he stood, caught between swagger and curiosity, sizing her up like a prize he'd already won. The bar lights flickered, the dare pulsed in his veins, and Josephine Winslow stayed cool as ever. No one saw this coming, not his friends, not him, and definitely not her. What happens when charm meets a wall? You'll see, it's all about the game of deception next, and Xavier's about to learn he's not as slick as he thinks. Xavier Holden was in his element now, smooth as silk, tossing out charm like it was pocket change. The love gamble was on, and he figured he'd have Josephine Winslow wrapped around his finger in no time. You won't believe how confident he was, thinking this billionaire's bet was his to win. He'd flash a grin, drop a clever line, and boom, game over, right? Oh, what a shock awaited him, this was a game turned real, and he didn't have a clue. Control. That was about to slip through his fingers like sand. He leaned in close, all suave and calculated, spinning tales of fancy trips and big wins. To him, it was passionate deception at its finest, every word a move in this unexpected romance chess match. Josephine just tilted her head, half amused, like she could see right through him. No one expected her to hold her own, but she did, and it was a lesson he wasn't ready for. He thought he was the hunter, but when the hunter becomes the prey was creeping up fast. Picture this, he'd say something slick, like, ever wonder what fate's got in store? She'd fire back, I don't wait for fate, I make my own. Ouch, talk about a twist of fate. He brushed it off, doubling down with more charm, but secrets and heartbreak were already simmering beneath the surface. He figured he'd dazzle her with his world, money, power, the works. Trouble was, this bet gone wrong wasn't dazzling her one bit. Ever tried to impress someone and ended up looking like a fool? Maybe you flexed a skill, cooking, say, and burned the dish instead. That's Xavier, strutting into love versus pride territory, blind to the mess he was making. He thought Josephine was just playing hard to get, a little challenge for his ego. But falling for the wrong girl wasn't part of the plan, and her quiet strength was throwing him off. He was too busy scheming to see the cracks forming. Here's where it gets wild, he started enjoying the game a little too much. The way she'd toss his lines back, the way she didn't flinch, it was a thrill he didn't expect. He played, but lost. His heart was creeping in, but he'd never admit it, not yet. To him, this was still a dare, a chance to prove he could win anything. A rich man's regret. PSH, that was for losers, not him. Or so he thought as the bar lights danced around them. Let's be honest, control's an illusion, isn't it? You plan, you plot, but life's got a way of laughing in your face. Xavier didn't get that memo, though. He was all in, weaving his web of charm like a pro. Josephine, sipping her coffee, wasn't biting, and that should have been his first clue. An unplanned love story was unfolding, and he was too cocky to notice. What happens next? Well, he's about to find out she's not falling for his tricks. So there they were, locked in this dance of wits, him pushing, her dodging, the air thick with tension. He thought he was running the show, but fate's unexpected twist was pulling the strings. The dare felt like a slam dunk, but Josephine Winslow wasn't some trophy to claim. She was rewriting the rules, and he was too busy smirking to see it. Buckle up, this game's about to hit a wall, and it's gonna sting. Xavier Holden was pulling out all the stops now, fancy stories, subtle brags, the works. But here's the shock, Josephine Winslow didn't even blink. You won't believe this, but his billionaire's bet, dripping with cash and swagger, crashed hard against her cool indifference. She wasn't dazzled by his penthouse tales or private jet mentions. Talk about a twist of fate. This love gamble was supposed to be easy, but no one expected her to shrug off his charm like it was nothing. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson he'd never seen coming. He tossed out a line about a weekend in Paris, casual, like it's no big deal. Most would have swooned, but Josephine? She just said, sounds crowded, and kept reading her book. Falling for the wrong girl was hitting him square in the face, and he didn't know what to do. He thought money and status were his ace cards in this game turned real, but she wasn't playing by those rules. Passionate deception wasn't working, and that rattled his cage. Imagine the scene, he's leaning in, all charm and confidence, expecting her to melt. Instead, she glances up with a smirk and asks, "Is that all you've got?" Oof, that's when the hunter becomes the prey in full swing. Xavier figured everyone had a price, but Josephine Winslow wasn't for sale, not to his ego, not to his wallet. Secrets and heartbreak hovered like a storm cloud, and he was too stubborn to see it. This was love versus pride, and pride was losing. Ever met someone who doesn't care about the stuff you're proud of? Maybe you bragged about a promotion, and they just nodded, humbling, right? That's where Xavier's at, drowning in a bet gone wrong. He'd spent years building a life that screamed success, but to her, it was noise. She cared about real stuff, conversations, ideas, not his shiny toys. A rich man's regret was creeping in, and he couldn't shake it. Here's the twist, her indifference wasn't cold, it was honest. She didn't need his world to feel whole, and that hit him like a freight train. He played, but lost. His heart was starting to whisper, but he shoved it down. He couldn't lose control, not now. Still, every time she brushed off his tricks, it stung. This unexpected romance wasn't supposed to feel so real, so raw. Josephine was a puzzle he couldn't solve, and it drove him nuts. Think about it, how do you win someone who doesn't want what you're selling? It's like offering a kid candy when they'd rather climb a tree. Xavier didn't get that yet, he kept pushing, convinced she'd cave. But Josephine's strength wasn't loud, it was quiet, steady, an unplanned love story unfolding on her terms. He'd never met anyone like her, and it was messing with his head. What happens when the game stops working? So there they sat, him scrambling for a new angle, her unfazed as ever. The bar buzzed around them, but it might as well have been empty, his focus was locked on her. Fate's unexpected twist had flipped the script, and he was floundering. She wasn't just different, she was rewriting his playbook. Next up. A real connection's about to sneak in, and Xavier's not ready for it, not even close. And then it happened, a shock so subtle, it nearly slipped by unnoticed. Xavier Holden was mid-sentence, tossing out another slick line, when Josephine Winslow laughed. Not at him, but with him, over some dumb joke about burnt coffee. You won't believe how that sound flipped the love gamble upside down, it was an unexpected romance sneaking in through the cracks. No one expected a real moment to cut through his billionaire's bet, but there it was. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson that'd rattle his whole world. He froze, just for a second, caught off guard by how natural it felt. She wasn't playing his game, but somehow, they'd stumbled into something real, a game turned real without him even trying. Her laugh wasn't fake or polished, it was messy, honest, and it hit him like a twist of fate. He'd been so busy with passionate deception, he didn't see falling for the wrong girl creeping up. Josephine's eyes sparkled, and suddenly, his pride didn't feel so invincible. Picture this, they're still at that bar, chatter fading into the background, and she's teasing him about his awful taste in drinks. He fires back, grinning, and for once, it's not a calculated move, it's just, him. Love versus pride was tilting hard toward love, and he didn't even clock it. When the hunter becomes the prey, it's not always loud, it's quiet moments like this that snag you. Secrets and heartbreak? Sure, they were lurking, but right then, it was pure connection. Ever had a moment where you dropped the mask without meaning to? Maybe you're joking with a friend, and suddenly, you're not pretending anymore, that's the magic here. Xavier didn't plan for this, he was supposed to win, not feel. But Josephine Winslow wasn't just a target anymore, she was real, and it shook him. A rich man's regret flickered in his gut, what if he'd been chasing the wrong things all along? Here's where it gets wild, he started questioning everything. Was this dare, he played, but lost his heart, worth it? Her laugh lingered in his head, and his usual swagger felt hollow. Try this sometime, next time you're stuck in your head, let someone's realness pull you out, it's a game changer. Josephine didn't care about his status, and that freedom was new. An unplanned love story was blooming, and he wasn't sure he liked it, or maybe he liked it too much. Let's be real, connections like that don't happen every day. Most of us coast through life, dodging the deep stuff, but when it hits, it's a bet gone wrong in the best way. Xavier didn't know what to do with it, he'd spent years building walls, not bridges. Yet there she was, tearing them down with a smirk and a quip. Fate's unexpected twist had him hooked, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this was bigger than the dare. So there they were, laughing over nothing, the bar lights soft around them. He didn't notice how his shoulders relaxed or how his voice lost its edge. Josephine Winslow was still a mystery, but for the first time, he wasn't trying to solve her, he was just there. The dare faded to static, and something real took its place. What's next? Well, the bet's about to feel like a trap, and Xavier's in deeper than he knows. Here's the shock that hit Xavier Holden like a sucker punch, he was starting to care. The love gamble, that cocky billionaire's bet he'd swaggered into, was tightening around him like a noose. You won't believe how fast it flipped, 1 minute he's in control, the next he's caught in an unexpected romance he never signed up for. Josephine Winslow wasn't just a target anymore, she was under his skin, and no one expected that. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in how quick a game can turn real. He'd catch himself smiling at her texts, simple stuff, like, "Don't trip over your ego today." That wasn't the plan. He played, but lost his heart was supposed to be a catchy tagline, not his reality. Every laugh, every glance from her was a twist of fate, pulling him deeper into falling for the wrong girl. He'd built this dare on pride, but now love versus pride was a tug-of-war, and love was winning. The trap snapped shut, and he didn't even hear it click. Picture him pacing his sleek apartment, replaying their last chat. He'd tossed out a flirty line, expecting her usual sass, but she'd said, "You're not as shallow as you pretend," and walked off. Bam, passionate deception crumbled, and secrets and heartbreak loomed closer. He thought he'd charm her and bounce, but when the hunter becomes the prey, the game changes. Josephine wasn't falling, he was, and it freaked him out. Ever feel like you're losing at your own game? Maybe you start a hobby to kill time, say, painting, and end up obsessed. That's Xavier, drowning in a bet gone wrong he can't escape. He'd laugh it off with his buddies, but inside, a rich man's regret was gnawing at him. He didn't want to need her, not her wit, not her calm, but he did. An unplanned love story was rewriting his script, and he hated how good it felt. Here's the kicker, he couldn't stop. He'd see her at the bar, casual as ever, and his chest would tighten. This wasn't supposed to happen, he was the player, not the played. Yet every time she called him out or matched his banter, it was fate's unexpected twist tightening the screws. He'd think, "I'll quit tomorrow," but tomorrow never came. The dare was a trap, and he was too stubborn, or too smitten, to claw his way out. Let's be real, falling's scary when you're used to standing tall. Xavier had built a life where he called the shots, but Josephine Winslow wasn't following his rules. She'd tease him about his fancy watch, and he'd laugh, actually laugh, instead of flexing. It was a game turned real, and he was in deep. Want a tip? Next time you're stuck, lean into the mess, it might just teach you something. He didn't know that yet, but he was learning fast. So there he was, staring at his phone, her last message glowing, "See you tomorrow, hotshot." He smirked, but his gut twisted, this wasn't a win anymore, it was a freefall. The dare that started it all felt like a distant echo, drowned out by something bigger. What's next? His friends are about to notice, and Xavier's not ready for the spotlight to shift. The shock hit the bar like a rogue wave, Xavier Holden wasn't himself anymore. His buddies, usually rowdy and slapping his back, started squinting at him over their beers. You won't believe how quick they clocked it, the guy who'd kicked off this billionaire's bet was slipping. The love gamble had him distracted, quieter, and no one expected that from their golden boy. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in how fast a mask can crack when the game turns real. It started small, he dodged their usual jabs about women and wealth, shrugging instead of smirking. One night, a friend grinned, "How's your little dare going, champ?" Xavier just muttered, "Fine," and stared at his drink. Falling for the wrong girl was written all over him, and he played, but lost his heart wasn't just a catchy line anymore, it was happening. Josephine Winslow's name didn't even come up, but they could smell the unexpected romance on him. Picture this, they're at their usual spot, music thumping, and he's checking his phone, again. "Who's got you whipped, man?" they teased, but his half-smile didn't reach his eyes. Love versus pride was a battlefield now, and his crew saw the dents in his armor. When the hunter becomes the prey, it's not just the prey who notices, the pack does too. Secrets and heartbreak were simmering, and his friends were starting to wonder, was this still a bet gone wrong, or something more? Ever had your crew call you out when you're off your game? Maybe you're daydreaming at a hangout, and they pounce, same vibe here. Xavier's charm was still there, but it was softer, less sharp. He'd laugh at their digs, but his mind was elsewhere, on her. A rich man's regret flickered, had he bet too much this time? They didn't get it yet, but they knew their player was slipping into an unplanned love story. Here's where it gets messy, they pushed him, tossing out, "You're not bailing on the dare, are you?" He snapped back, "I've got this," but his voice lacked bite. Passionate deception was his old playbook, but now he wasn't sure who he was fooling. Josephine Winslow had flipped the script, and his buddies saw the cracks: less swagger, more size. Fate's unexpected twist was tugging him away from their world, and they didn't like it one bit. Let's be real, friends notice when you're not you anymore. It's like when you start humming a new tune, and they ask, "Where'd that come from?" Xavier couldn't hide it, the late nights texting, the way he'd perk up at her name. "Want a tip? If your crew's raising eyebrows, maybe it's time to check your own game." He didn't, too busy wrestling with a game turned real to see they were onto him. So there he sat, surrounded by laughs and clinking glasses, but distant. His friends swapped looks, half amused, half worried. Was he still playing, or had he already lost? The dare that started it all felt like a ghost now, haunting him with every glance at the door. Josephine wasn't there, but she might as well have been. What's next? Her guard's about to drop, and Xavier's not ready for the fallout. And then, like a shock from nowhere, Josephine Winslow softened, just a little. Xavier Holden had been chipping away, and you won't believe how it paid off. She started letting him in. The love gamble was shifting, turning into an unexpected romance she didn't see coming. She'd laugh easier, linger longer, oblivious to the billionaire's bet pulling the strings. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in how fragile trust can be when it's built on sand. It wasn't overnight, she'd been a wall, dodging his charm like a pro. But one evening, over coffee, she said, "You're not as bad as I thought," and smirked. That was it, falling for the wrong girl flipped into high gear, and he played, but lost. His heart wasn't just his story anymore, it was hers too. Xavier felt the shift, a game turned real, tightening its grip, but the truth? That was still locked away, a bet gone wrong waiting to blow up. Picture this, they're at a quiet cafe, rain tapping the windows, and she's telling him about her favorite book. He's nodding, actually listening, not plotting, for once. Love versus Pride was tilting hard, and her guard dropping felt like a win. But when the hunter becomes the prey doesn't always know the game's rigged. Secrets and heartbreak hovered, unseen, as Josephine Winslow started trusting the wrong guy. Ever let someone in, only to wonder later if you misjudged them? Maybe a friend who seemed solid until they weren't. Same stakes here. She didn't swoon over his cash, but his persistence. That got her. A rich man's regret was brewing in Xavier's gut. He hadn't planned on her mattering this much. Her trust was a gift, and he was holding a ticking bomb of passionate deception. Here's the twist, she started seeking him out, texts, quick chats, little moments. "You free tomorrow?" she'd ask, casual but warm, and he'd grin like a fool. Fate's unexpected twist had her hooked, and he was too deep in an unplanned love story to pull back. Want a tip? If someone's opening up, don't take it lightly, it's rare. But Xavier? He was too busy basking to see the storm coming. Let's be real, trust sneaks up on you. One day you're guarded, the next you're spilling your coffee order like it's a secret handshake. Josephine didn't know she was stepping into a trap, laughing at his dumb jokes, sharing bits of her world. Xavier felt it too, her warmth was addictive, and it messed with his head. The dare faded to a whisper, but the truth? That was a shadow growing darker by the day. So there they were, side by side, her walls crumbling while his guilt simmered. She'd tease him about his fancy shoes, and he'd fire back, both of them grinning like kids. The bar, the cafe, wherever, they were building something real. Or so she thought. What's next? He's about to face a moment where confessing feels right, but something's gonna stop him cold. The air crackled with a shock Xavier Holden couldn't dodge, he was this close to spilling it all. The love gamble had him tangled, and Josephine Winslow's trust was pushing him to the edge. You won't believe how the words danced on his tongue, it started as a bet. But right then, no one expected what held him back, fear, pride, or maybe both. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in how thin the line is between truth and a bet gone wrong. They were outside, under a streetlight, her laughing at some story he'd spun. Her guard was down, and his heart was pounding, an unexpected romance he couldn't shake. "You're full of surprises," she said, eyes soft, and he played, but lost his heart screamed in his head. Xavier opened his mouth, ready to unravel the billionaire's bet, but then her smile hit him, a twist of fate, and he froze. Confessions don't come easy when you're falling for the wrong girl. Picture this, the night's cool, her scarf slipping, and he's staring like she's the only thing that matters. "Hey, I need to tell you," he started, but a car horn blared, shattering the moment. Love versus pride yanked him back, he couldn't risk her walking away. When the hunter becomes the prey's power is quiet, and Josephine had it in spades. Secrets and heartbreak choked him, and he swallowed the truth instead. Ever had a chance to come clean but chickened out? Maybe you meant to admit a fib to a pal, but their grin stopped you cold. Same deal here. Xavier's got twisted with a rich man's regret, he didn't want to lose her, not now. Her trust was a lifeline, and cutting it with passionate deception felt wrong. But silence? That was a trap tightening around him, and he knew it. Here's the kicker, he almost tried again. They walked on, her chatting about some quirky coworker, and he thought, now's the time. But his phone buzzed, his buddies, texting about the dare. Reality crashed in, a game turned real turned sour. Fate's unexpected twist wasn't letting him off easy, he clammed up, grinning weakly as she rambled. An unplanned love story teetered on the edge, and he couldn't jump. Let's be real, truth's a beast when you've built a house of cards. Xavier was drowning in what-ifs. What if she hates me? What if I've already lost? Want a tip? If you're stuck, try writing it down first, works better than choking mid-sentence. But he didn't have that luxury, Josephine's warmth was too close, too real. The dare that started it all was a shadow he couldn't outrun, and it stopped him dead. So there they stood, her oblivious, him a mess inside. She nudged him, "You're quiet, what's up?" He shrugged, "Just thinking," and forced a laugh. The moment slipped away, buried under his hesitation. She didn't see the storm brewing, but he felt it, every second of it. What's next? The truth's about to burst out, and it's gonna be ugly. The shock hit like a thunderclap, Josephine Winslow overheard it all. Xavier Holden's billionaire's bet unraveled in the worst way, his buddies, loud and drunk, laughing about the love gamble at the bar. You won't believe the timing, she just walked in, smiling, when the words, "win her heart or lose his pride," cut through the noise. No one expected her to catch that dagger mid-air, but she did, and what happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in how fast secrets and heartbreak can shred everything. Her face froze, confusion, then rage, as the truth sank in. "A bet?" she spat, voice low but sharp, and Xavier turned, pale as a ghost. He played, but lost his heart wasn't a game anymore, it was a game turned real crashing down. She didn't yell, just stared, eyes burning through his passionate deception. Falling for the wrong girl had flipped on him, and love versus pride? Pride didn't stand a chance. She grabbed her bag, and he knew she was gone. Picture this, the bar's buzzing, his friends clueless, and she's already at the door. "Joe, wait," he stammered, but she spun around, "Don't call me that." Ouch, when the hunter becomes the prey can bite back. The unexpected romance he'd felt. Dust now, thanks to a bet gone wrong he couldn't dodge. Her trust, that fragile thing he'd almost confessed about, shattered under fate's unexpected twist, and he'd lit the fuse himself. Ever had your world blow up because of your own mess? Maybe a lie you told caught up, like forgetting to fess up about borrowing cash, and bam, trust's toast. That's Xavier, watching Josephine walk out, a rich man's regret choking him. She didn't care about his money before, and now? She didn't care about him. The bar spun, his buddy's laughs echoing like a cruel soundtrack to his fall. Here's the gut punch, she didn't even give him a chance to explain. "You're pathetic," she said, voice steady, and that was it, door slammed, game over. An unplanned love story turned sour, and he stood there, hands in pockets, reeling from the twist of fate. His friends shrugged, "She'll get over it," but they didn't get it, he wouldn't. The truth wasn't just out, it was a wrecking ball, and he was the rubble. Let's be real, when you're caught red-handed, there's no talking your way out. Xavier's head screamed, "Run after her," but his feet stayed glued. "Want a tip? If you screw up, own it fast, silence just digs the hole deeper." He didn't, though, he let her go, the weight of his own stupidity sinking in. Josephine Winslow wasn't coming back, not after that, and he felt it in his bones. So there he was, alone in the chaos, the bar's noise fading to a hum. His buddies slapped his shoulder, but he brushed them off, staring at the spot she'd stood. The dare that started it all was a ghost now, haunting him with every step she'd taken away. What's next? He's heartbroken, she's unforgiving, and the fallout's just beginning. The shock settled in slow and brutal, Xavier Holden was a wreck. The love gamble had flipped on him, leaving a billionaire's bet in ruins and a heart he didn't know he had in pieces. You won't believe how empty his sleek penthouse felt without Josephine Winslow's laugh echoing in his head. No one expected him to crumble like this, but there it was, he played, but lost his heart, and now he was paying the price. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in a rich man's regret he couldn't outrun. He'd paced the floor, replaying that night, the bar, her face, the way she walked out. She wouldn't answer his texts, wouldn't even read them, and that silence cut deeper than any words. Falling for the wrong girl had been a thrill until it turned into secrets and heartbreak, and now love versus pride was a battle he'd lost. Josephine was gone, unforgiving, and he couldn't blame her, not really. The game turned real had chewed him up and spat him out. Picture this, he's sitting on his fancy couch, staring at a coffee mug she'd once teased him about, too pricey, too pretentious. "You're such an idiot," he muttered to himself, and it wasn't just about the mug. When the hunter becomes the prey, the fall's hard, and Xavier hit rock bottom. An unexpected romance had slipped through his fingers, and the bet gone wrong wasn't funny anymore, it was his life, unraveling fast. Ever lost something good and only realized it too late? Maybe a friend you took for granted until they stopped calling, same sting here. Xavier saw it now, her trust, her realness, were gold he'd traded for a cheap dare. Passionate deception had been his weapon, but it backfired, leaving him hollow. A tip? Cherish the real stuff, next time someone's real with you, don't let it slip. He didn't, and now he was drowning in what-ifs. Here's the raw truth, he missed her, bad. Not the game, not the win, but her, Josephine Winslow, with her smirks and sass. Fate's unexpected twist had given him something real, and he'd torched it. He'd scroll through old messages, her hotshot jabs taunting him, and his chest would ache. An unplanned love story wasn't supposed to end like this, but he'd made sure it did. Forgiveness? She wasn't in the mood, and he didn't deserve it. Let's be honest, heartbreak's a beast when you're the one who screwed up. He'd catch himself staring at the bar's door, half hoping she'd storm back in, but nope, radio silence. His buddies tried cheering him up, plenty of fish, man, but it wasn't about fish, it was about her. The dare that started it all was a ghost rattling his cage, and he couldn't shake it. He'd lost more than pride, he'd lost her, and it hit like a freight train. So there he was, a shadow of the guy who'd swaggered into that bet, nursing a drink and a bruised soul. The city hummed outside, but inside, it was just him and his mess. Josephine Winslow wasn't coming back, not yet, maybe not ever, and that truth was a knife twisting deeper. What's next? He's about to try winning her back, but can love survive a mess this big? Xavier Holden wasn't done yet, here's the shock, he couldn't let her go. The billionaire's bet had blown up, but the love gamble still burned in his chest, pushing him to fight. You won't believe how desperate he got, chasing an unexpected romance he'd torched himself. Josephine Winslow was a wall now, cold and unforgiving, and no one expected him to keep trying, not after that mess. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in whether a game turned real can rise from the ashes. He started small, texts she ignored, flowers she probably trashed. "I'm sorry," he'd type, over and over, but her silence screamed louder than secrets and heartbreak ever could. He played, but lost his heart wasn't just a tagline, it was his truth, and falling for the wrong girl had him scrambling to fix it. Love versus pride. He was swallowing pride by the gallon, but betrayal's a tough stain to scrub. Josephine wasn't budging, not yet. Picture this, he's at her favorite cafe, hoping she'll show, clutching a coffee he doesn't even drink. "Come on, Joe," he mutters, but the chair stays empty. When the hunter becomes the prey, the chase flips, and now he's the one running. A bet gone wrong had cost him everything, and a rich man's regret was his new shadow. He'd trade all his cash for one more chance, but she wasn't buying what he was selling. Ever tried fixing a screw-up that feels impossible? Maybe you apologize to a friend, but they just stared through you, same vibe here. Xavier's gut churned with passionate deception's fallout, and he knew sorry wasn't enough. Want a tip? Actions beat words, show up, not just with gifts, but with change. He was learning that the hard way, chasing a twist of fate he didn't deserve but couldn't let go. Here's the kicker, he didn't stop. He'd leave notes at her door, short, messy, real, saying stuff like, "I was a fool, and I know it." An unplanned love story hung by a thread, and he was clawing to hold on. Her friends glared when they saw him, whispering, "Give it up," but he couldn't. Fate's unexpected twist had flipped his world, and losing her wasn't an option, not if he could help it. Let's be real, winning someone back after betrayal's like climbing a cliff with no rope. Xavier felt it, every ignored call, every door shut in his face. But Josephine Winslow wasn't just anyone, she was the one who'd cracked him open, and he missed that. He'd sit in his car outside her place, not stalking, just hoping, wrestling with the mess he'd made. Could love survive this? He didn't know, but he had to try. So there he was, a man on a mission, chasing a ghost of what they'd had. The city buzzed around him, but his focus was razor-sharp, her. The dare that started it all was a distant echo, drowned by his need to make it right. She hadn't softened, not yet, but he wasn't out of moves. What's next? A grand gesture's brewing, and it's gonna be sink or swim. Xavier Holden was all in now, here's the shock, he was ready to throw it all on the line. The love gamble had morphed into a desperate billionaire's bet to win Josephine Winslow back, and you won't believe what he cooked up. A grand gesture, the kind that screams unexpected romance, was his last shot. No one expected him to go this big after the mess he'd made. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in whether a bet gone wrong can turn into something real. He didn't half-step, he rented out her favorite park, strung lights, hired a band, the works. If this doesn't show her, nothing will, he muttered, pacing as the plan came together. He played, but lost his heart was driving him now, and falling for the wrong girl had him risking it all, money, pride, everything. Love versus pride. He was betting on love, but Josephine's silence loomed like a judge's gavel. Was it enough, or just too late? Picture this, dusk falling, the park glowing, and him standing there, heart hammering, waiting for her. Her friend had tipped her off, reluctantly, and she showed, arms crossed, skepticism all over her face. "What's this?" she asked, voice flat, and when the hunter becomes the prey flipped hard, he was the one exposed now. Secrets and heartbreak lingered in her stare, and a rich man's regret fueled his plea, "I messed up, but I'm here." Ever gone all out to fix a mistake, only to wonder if it's too much? Maybe you threw a party to say sorry, and they barely showed, same stakes here. Xavier poured his soul into it, saying, "You're not a game to me, not anymore." Passionate deception was dead, this was raw, messy truth. A tip? Go big if you mean it, but don't expect instant forgiveness, it's earned. He was learning that under her icy gaze. Here's the twist, she didn't melt, not right away. The band played her favorite song, and he stepped closer, voice cracking, "I love you, Joe." An unplanned love story teetered on the edge, and he'd risked it all for this shot. She blinked, jaw tight, and muttered, "You don't get to say that yet." Fate's unexpected twist hung heavy. Was this a grand win or a grand flop? He couldn't tell, but he'd laid it bare. Let's be real, big moves like this are a gamble, and Xavier was rolling the dice with a shaky hand. The crowd watched, strangers, friends, even his buddies, wide-eyed, but it was just him and her in that moment. Josephine Winslow wasn't swayed by lights or music, she wanted proof he'd changed. He felt the weight, a game turned real wasn't a game anymore, it was his last chance to prove he wasn't the guy who'd hurt her. So there they stood, the park alive around them, his gesture hanging in the air like a fragile thread. She didn't run, but she didn't fold either, just stared, weighing him. The dare that started it all was a distant memory, replaced by a man fighting for what mattered. Had he moved her, or was it too little, too late? What's next? Fate's about to throw a curveball neither saw coming. Just when you'd think the shock couldn't get bigger, fate dropped a bomb. Xavier Holden's grand gesture was still ringing in the air when Josephine Winslow got a call, her voice faltered mid-sentence. "You won't believe this, her sister was in the hospital, out of the blue," and the love gamble screeched to a halt. No one expected this curveball, not her, not him, but it flipped the billionaire's bet into something raw. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in how life can rewrite the rules. She hung up, eyes wide, and muttered, "I have to go." Xavier didn't hesitate, he grabbed his keys, "I'll drive." The park, the lights, the gesture. Forgotten in a heartbeat as falling for the wrong girl crashed into real stakes. He played, but lost his heart wasn't a game now, it was a man stepping up when secrets and heartbreak weren't even the worst of it. Josephine didn't argue, just nodded, shell-shocked. Picture this, they're speeding through the city, her gripping the seat, him weaving through traffic. "She's all I've got," she whispered, and love versus pride melted away, pride didn't matter, she did. When the hunter becomes the prey, sometimes the hunt's off, and you're just there, raw and real. A bet gone wrong had led to this, an unexpected romance tested by something bigger than either of them. Fate's unexpected twist wasn't playing fair. Ever had life yank the rug out from under you? Maybe a call comes, bad news, and everything else feels small. That's where they were, the air thick with worry. Xavier didn't push, didn't plead, just drove, glancing at her pale face. A rich man's regret. Sure, but now it was about being there, not fixing the past. A tip? When the chips are down, show up, words can wait. He was learning that mile by mile. Here's the wild part, they didn't fight, didn't dredge up the betrayal. She let him stay, through the hospital doors, into the waiting room, and that silence said more than any grand gesture. Passionate deception was a ghost, this was an unplanned love story clawing through chaos. Her sister's crash wasn't fatal, thank God, but it shook Josephine to her core, and Xavier was there, steady, when she needed it most. Let's be real, sometimes fate doesn't care about your plans. You're mid-argument, mid-anything, and bam, something bigger takes over. Josephine leaned on him, just a little, her hand brushing his as they waited for news. A game turned real had new stakes now, and he wasn't running, he couldn't. The dare that started it all. Buried under this twist, this moment where winning her back wasn't the point, being there was. So there they sat, side by side in stiff hospital chairs, the hum of machines in the background. She didn't forgive him, not yet, but she didn't push him away either. The night stretched on, heavy and uncertain, and Xavier felt it. This was bigger than bets or pride. What's next? He's got a choice coming, love or ego, and fate's not done shaking things up. The shock of the hospital night lingered, but now Xavier Holden faced a fork in the road. The love gamble had stripped him bare, and with Josephine Winslow beside him, the billionaire's bet felt like a relic. You won't believe how clear it hit him: keep his ego or fight for her, no in between. No one expected this crossroads, not after everything, but here it was, raw and real. What happens next? Oh, it's a lesson in whether he played, but lost his heart, could finally win. They were still in that waiting room, her head on his shoulder, exhaustion winning out. She hadn't forgiven him, but she hadn't left either, and that was his shot. Love versus pride wasn't a game anymore, it was a choice staring him down. Falling for the wrong girl had cracked his shell, and now secrets and heartbreak demanded he pick a side. Ego said, walk away, save face. Love said, stay, prove it, and his chest tightened. Picture this: dawn creeping through the windows, her breathing soft against him, and he's wrestling inside. I could leave now, he thought, let her hate me and keep my dignity. But when the hunter becomes the prey, dignity's overrated. Josephine was worth more. A bet gone wrong had led here, and a rich man's regret whispered, don't lose her twice. He stayed, hand brushing hers, choosing the messy truth over a clean exit. Ever faced a moment where you had to ditch the armor? Maybe you apologized when you didn't have to. Same stakes here. Xavier's pride had built his world: money, status, control, but it couldn't hold her. A tip? When it's real, let the ego take a back seat. It's scary but freeing. An unexpected romance hung in the balance, and he was done running from passionate deception's fallout. He wanted her, flaws and all. Here's the kicker: she stirred, looked up, and asked, why are you still here? His throat caught, ego screamed, lie, but love won. Because I can't not be, he said, voice rough. Fate's unexpected twist had flipped the script again, and this wasn't a grand gesture, it was quiet, real. An unplanned love story teetered, and Josephine's eyes searched his, testing if he'd finally changed, or if it was just more noise. Let's be real, choosing love over ego's like jumping without a net. Xavier felt it, the weight of her gaze, the chance she'd still walk away. His buddies would laugh, you're soft now, man, but he didn't care. The dare that started it all was dust. This was about her, about them. He wasn't begging, just showing up, day after day, proving he wasn't that guy anymore. Could she see it? Maybe not yet, but he wasn't stopping. So there they were, dawn painting the room gold, her question hanging between them. He didn't push, didn't plead, just sat there, letting her decide. The hospital hummed, but his world was her, Josephine Winslow, the one who'd flipped everything. What's next? An ending's coming, one he never saw coming, and it's gonna redefine it all. The shock landed soft but seismic. Xavier Holden didn't get the fairy tale he'd pictured. The love gamble had twisted, and Josephine Winslow didn't fall into his arms, forgiving all. You won't believe this, she chose herself, walking away from the billionaire's bet with quiet strength no one expected. What happens next? Nothing, he'd lost, but it wasn't the loss he'd feared, it was a lesson that rewrote everything. An unexpected romance ended, but not how he'd dreamed. She'd looked at him that morning, post-hospital, and said, I need time, alone. No yelling, no tears, just her, steady as ever, picking peace over his chaos. He played, but lost. His heart had come full circle, and falling for the wrong girl left him standing there, empty-handed. Love versus pride? She chose neither, stepping out of the ring entirely. A bet gone wrong redefined winning, and Xavier felt the sting, and the awe. Picture this, he's at home, city lights flickering outside, her words looping in his head. I don't hate you, she'd added, but I don't trust you. Ouch, when the hunter becomes the prey doesn't always come back. Secrets and heartbreak had carved their mark, but her leaving wasn't revenge, it was freedom. A rich man's regret settled in, not bitter, but humbling. He'd gambled big and lost bigger, yet somehow, it felt right. Ever had an ending that didn't fit your script but still made sense? Maybe a job fell through, and you found a better path, same vibe here. Xavier sat with it, no grand gesture left to pull. A tip? Let go when it's time, clinging just delays the growth. Passionate deception was dead, and an unplanned love story closed on her terms. He didn't chase, not this time, because he finally got it, she wasn't his to win. Here's the twist, he didn't break. Days passed, and he started smiling again, not cocky, but real. Fate's unexpected twist had flipped him inside out, and losing her taught him more than winning ever could. He'd see her name pop up, mutual friends, chance mentions, and it'd sting, but he'd nod. A game turned real had ended, but it left him softer, wiser, a man who'd loved and lost and lived to tell it. Let's be real, endings like this don't tie up neat, and that's okay. Josephine Winslow was out there, living her life, and Xavier was here, rebuilding his. He didn't get the girl, but he got himself, stripped of the swagger, grounded in something deeper. The dare that started it all. A ghost now, a spark that lit a fire he couldn't control. He'd never expected this, but maybe that was the point, life doesn't owe you the win. So there he was, a man reshaped, sipping coffee, not the fancy kind, and staring at a sunrise. The city hummed, and he felt free. Not the freedom of conquest, but of letting go. Josephine had redefined everything, love, loss, him, and he'd carry that, quietly grateful. What's next? Nothing scripted, just life, raw and open, waiting for whatever comes. What do you think Xavier should have done differently? Would you forgive a love gamble like this? Drop a comment below with your take. Did you see this twist of fate coming, or did the ending shock you too? Face screaming in fear. Share this video if you've ever faced a choice between love versus pride, and smash that follow button for more unplanned love stories that'll keep you hooked. Who knows? Fate's next unexpected twist might be just a click away. Broken Heart sparkles.